Welcome to Seattle Tacoma International Airport in Seattle, Washington, where today we're flying SAS on the recently introduced Seattle to Copenhagen route. Before we head to our gate, we of course first have to check out the Centurion lounge, which, as expected, currently has a wait. Within 20 minutes, I'm in though, got some fuel, and get ready to head to the gate. There are quite a few international departures that leave from the S gates here at SeaTac, so first we have to head downstairs and hop on the train to get on over there. About a minute later, our train arrives right on time. Now, the satellite gates, the S gates here at SeaTac, I don't have a ton of video of, but there are a few restaurants, there's a Hudson News, you obviously have restrooms, but there aren't any airport lounges in these gates, which sometimes makes it a little annoying to go from any of the lounges in the main concourse over to the S gates. With that in mind, as soon as I walk up to S10, our departing gate today, I see our beautiful Airbus A350 roll in on a flight from Copenhagen. For today's flight, I'm in boarding group 3, and I'm also in seat 30A. Thanks to Aerolopa for the seat map here, and as you can see in the seat map, 30A is right here. Now, it looks nice because there's extra room, but one thing I didn't realize, despite all the extra legroom, is that divider between SAS Go and SAS Plus. Which, as you'll see later in the video, once I get settled into my seat, is a little interesting, to say the least. Now, I should have done my own research, but still, nonetheless, it wasn't a great overall experience. Back here at S10, you can see the boarding groups. You have 3, 4, and 5 on the left, and then 1 and 2 on the right for Sky Priority and Euro Bonus Elite members. One other interesting thing, there was a departing flight at the gate next to us to Japan at the exact same time, which definitely made it a little bit chaotic. But nonetheless, here we are, scanned our boarding pass, we're on the jetway, and we're headed aboard the Airbus A350 by SAS. As soon as we board, we see that classic SAS logo, and then take a sneak peek at what could have been an SAS business. Another video on that soon. These seats here are in a 1-to-1 configuration. Here we are, to 30A. As you can see as I sit down, there is a lot of legroom. This seat with extra room cost me an extra 69 euros, which obviously for the space alone is probably worth it, but we'll talk about that more later. Here is that curtain, that divider that I was mentioning to you. It sits right in front of the IFE and sits kind of right in front of you. It also overhangs maybe about 6 inches from the IFE. And with that, my IFE doesn't work. That is, until I discovered there's IFE between the seats, which we'll explore a little bit later. Within the seat, you can also see there's a couple of controls here, which are interesting. You have a light, call button. Interesting enough though, my seatmate's IFE did work, which they're not going to be able to use here in a minute anyway, but interesting nonetheless. In the seat itself, you have what you would expect in economy. You obviously have a pillow. And then you also have signature SAS Blue blanket. You also have this nice little compartment here in front that holds quite a few things, but we'll get into that later. Right now, it looks like we are about to taxi. One of the things you'll notice on SAS here is just how much Scandinavian influence there is, especially on all the wood paneling, which is super nice. There are quite a few departures from SeaTac around this time, so expect some taxiway delays after you leave the gate. But here we are leaving S10 with the Qatar Airways there on our left, headed to the runway. Now, I was pretty bummed about the IFE not working in front of me, primarily because this A350 had a tail cam, which I couldn't watch because my IFE was stuck between my seats for takeoff, which we're about to do right now. Now, back to that curtain. You can see it here, and then shortly after takeoff, you can see it's now been extended. And again, it's just a little weird. That's the best way to describe it. Not that I mind that it blocks the IFE here because I still have it somewhere else, but it overhangs a little bit, which just makes it a little odd. One of the other interesting design choices with SAS was that their seats are basically all cloth. Now, this is a 5-year-old Airbus A350, and they're still in pretty good shape, but an interesting choice nonetheless. We also have a water bottle, some headphones, as you would expect, some information on the Wi-Fi, which I couldn't get to work at all despite paying for it, which I'll talk about a little bit later. Now, shortly after takeoff, we got our initial drink service, and alcoholic drinks, soft drinks are all included just for this first meal service, but that's it. So get the drink now if you want it. I got a vegetarian meal here on board. We had a bit of a quinoa salad here. You also had in this box over here, as I struggle to open it with one hand, a little bit of fruit, which was actually pretty incredible. Outside of those two items, the bread and the graham crackers you see here, the main entree was some vegetarian ravioli with some broccolini and what I believe to be mushrooms there on top. Correct me if I'm wrong. Overall, it wasn't too bad. One other weird quirk about the seat is that this tray table was slanted downwards. So as I was trying to eat, my tray kept basically slipping off, which was slightly annoying, but it's kind of what you expect with a tray table that hinges in the middle. Back over on the IFE, which I now have up and looking at my tail cam. As you can kind of see here with the IFE, obviously language selection, it has some pretty good options as far as TV and movies. I didn't explore it too much, but again, the angle that you see here is just a little bizarre, especially with the arm. This might be the standard in these in-seat IFEs. I haven't experienced too much of it, but again, it's just a little bit of an odd angle to look down instead of up at the screen. Jumping over to everyone's favorite, the lavatory. Wasn't too bad. This is about midway through the flight. Obviously what you expect, the standard A350 bathroom. You have soap, which I don't know why I was so focused on the soap, but you have it, which is always good. And you basically have everything else you would come to expect in a lavatory on a plane like this. After a couple hours of sleep, we got this light meal, which was pretty nice. Some orange juice, and then again, as a vegetarian, you had this small little sandwich. It looked like it was avocado, lettuce, tomato. Overall, not too bad. We're just less than about 30 minutes away from downtown Copenhagen here, and we are starting to get some great views. And with that landing comes my freedom again from this curtain. As we land here, you can see the second longest bridge in Europe at 8 kilometers or 5 miles. We have successfully arrived here in Copenhagen a little bit early, which is always nice. And we again pass SAS Plus and SAS Business, and we make our way over to customs. Copenhagen's airport is going through some renovations right now, but these international gates that they have here are quite nice. There's a lot of grab and go options, but for now, we're just gonna try to get through customs and get out of the airport. Customs line here looked long, but I assure you it was fairly quick. It only took me about 20 minutes before I headed down to baggage claim to grab my bag. With that, thanks so much for flying along with me on SAS as we flew from Seattle to Copenhagen in economy. See you next time.